The new set mechanic is really making those gears turn, doesn't it? What we called flexible gaming before this set took a whole new meaning with Chosen coming to the arena. It can be pretty hard to use at times, but when they are just right, well, Morpheus would be proud. Hey everyone, and welcome to another ProGuides TFT video. Today, we're going to be talking about the new set mechanic, and going a bit deeper into understanding how it works, interesting ways of using your Chosen, as well as the different leveling timings that have followed the changes in leveling costs and Chosen breakpoints. Before we dive in, I just want to let you guys know we have a Discord community and a new subreddit that is growing really fast. We have you to thank for that, and want to continue building a community and helping you be a part of it. Make sure you check the link in the description below. See you there! For a question of the day, what is your favorite Chosen to see in the shop? For us, it's definitely Set. Only seen him 2 times so far, and it's a joy every time. Let's go over the infamous Chosen choice then. An early game Chosen is almost necessary in order to not lose too hard or go on a win streak. You can still win the old school way, but it necessitates strong items and definitely a couple of 2-star units. For example, a TF with Jeweled Gauntlet and 2 Vanguards might be able to win streak for a couple of rounds, but even they will start having trouble if you don't get a Chosen to help them out. You have the option of fully greeting for a 3 or even 4 cost Chosen, but waiting out too much might hurt your HP to an irreparable degree. Remember, Chosens have their own table of being available according to your level, which we are going to talk about later. Suffice to say, you can't get a 4-cost Chosen at level 4 or 5, so don't wait for it. In the early game, Chosen are also broken down into 2 categories as well. The ones that will become the center of your comp, like Aphelios or Wukong, and the ones that are transitional. The first are the ones that you will essentially never chain. They are your carries, so itemizing them is definitely the right choice, and you try to build your comp around them. The second category refers to Chosen who are there to help you get that early game oomph and will go away later, giving way to better stuff. You will find yourself doing this when your items are guiding you towards a certain direction, but you don't have a Chosen. A good example is having excellent Ahri items, like 1 Jeweled Gauntlet and a Guardian Angel, on top of finding a couple of mages like TF, Annie and Lulu. In that case, you would give the items to TF, get a Chosen that is a cultist, or even Fortune to farm extra gold and rush to level 7. There is a final, more obscure category to this, and they are the Chosen that help you get chase traits. A good example is Cultist. As sad as the comp state is right now in the late game, getting that Elise Cultist Chosen early might pigeonhole you into playing Cultists since you got the other units as well. You now have 2 choices. You keep the Elise and go for the chase trait. In that case, you can itemize Elise if you want, and possibly 3-star her to give her some late game stats. The other option is to throw away the Elise and play 6 cultists plus other stuff depending on your items, hoping for another cultist Chosen if you want to get the chase trait after all. The second choice is much riskier, due to the obvious lack of guarantees that you will get the right Chosen again. We would not recommend you to do that, unless you're playing for fun, in which case, everything's a good idea. Remember, Chosen have some traits that cannot be. Ninjas, Exile, the Boss, and Tormented. Finding a Chosen like that would break the trait or the game, so they don't exist. We're sure you've seen this before, but we'll share it anyway. This is what each Chosen gets in their extra stats. It's not extremely useful info, but it's good to know when you're trying to gauge the power of each one. Feel free to pause the video to check them out. Now that we know what each Chosen gets, let's check out some of the stronger ones. Let's look into 1 cost first. Wukong is probably one of the best early game Chosen, especially into Vanguard, since he can win streak extremely well and scales well into the late game if you play the comp right and get out of Vanguard Mystics aiming for 5 costs at the end. Lysandra or Diana into Moonlight are decent since they can enable Aphelios. Twisted Fate or Elise into Cultist are rather good since even after the nerf, early Cultist is a good win streak mechanic. Garen into Vanguard or Warlord is a good one as well, giving you a really strong early game that you can snowball due to Warlords getting stronger every fight. Duelist Yasuo almost needs not be mentioned, similar to Wukong, since he has a whole comp you can build into with him, Duelists. Tahm Kench into Fortune is pretty fun, if you have an Annie or early Jinx, since you will get a lot of gold from it. Also, Tahm Kench into Brawler is not too bad. We know there's many more combinations, but we are mentioning the best in each category, or at least the ones that will enable you to win with the most consistency. Moving on into 2 costs. Aphelios is an obvious choice into Moonlight or Hunter. Zed with Shade is ridiculous right now, so if you see him, buy him. If you're playing Moonlight, Silas with Moonlight is the best outside of Chosen Aphelios, and then Annie with Fortune is interesting for the same reasons as Tahm Kench before. 2 costs don't have too many OP Chosen, but the 2 they have are in the S tier comps right right now. Time to look at 3 costs. Oh boy. Veigar with either Elderwood or Mage is excellent right now, and you might possibly never change that one. Jinx with either trait is really good if you're playing Sharpshooter or Fortune, or at least have items for her. And then Evelyn with Shade is pretty good. She can carry almost as well as Zed, or at least enable the 4 Shade trait when you find Kayn. 4 cost Chosens are all pretty much desirable due to the raw stats, but some rise above, mainly due to their involvement in strong comps. Ahri with any of the 2 traits is amazing. Talon with Assassin to buff himself, or Enlighten to hit that 6 easily can be pretty OP. Riven in Dusk is still good, but not as good as previous patch. And then Ashe into Elderwood or Hunter is amazing too. The benefit of 4 cost Chosen is not just the Chosen extra stats, but the fact that it becomes much easier to 3-star him as well, which is kind of a win condition on its own. We're not actually going to go into Legendary Chosen, are we? They're all amazing. I mean, yeah, Zed is the best, okay, I said it. There's a few steps you can follow to streamline your gameplay in Set 4, at least where the Chosen mechanic is concerned. First, find a good early game Chosen. It can be any of the ones we previously discussed, but any one that actually fits your items or random 3-stars you found can be excellent. For example, a Sharpshooter Nicolai when you have a Jinx and a Vayne already is pretty fun. Obviously, if you find a comp committing Chosen like Wukong, you can stop worrying about Chosen at this point. The only caveat I would add here is to be careful with your items and don't force those Chosen too much. Wukong does well with a variety of items, but without RFC, he's pretty dead meat. You should have chosen a Chosen, yeah I know, pun intended, by Crumbz in most cases. If you are loose streaking the first 4 rounds, it's not a great idea to pick a Chosen right before Crumbz, as you might win and ruin all that hard work you did feeding your opponents. If you find a good one, pick it, but definitely don't field it. You don't have to build around that Chosen as much. It can just complement your current comp. A good example is a Pyke Chosen with Assassin that gives you Cultist because you're using Twisted Fate and Elise. Pyke will give you more CC, some decent damage, and a Galio dropping your opponents, all for the low price of 6 gold and no items needed. Since you will most likely transition out of him though, you could give him a Morello if you were gonna build it. The time to transition out of your early game Chosen is usually around Wolves, where you get to level 7. The idea here is that you want to look for an impactful Chosen now, not just a synergy bot for your comp. It would be best if you look for something you can itemize as well, but you are not always able to do so. A good practice to get into is to level to 7 and have 2 units of the trait your Chosen is doubling at the ready. One of them can even be the same as your Chosen. If you want to continue to have that trait, you level to 7, sell your Chosen, and put in the 2 units you have on your bench. You kind of lower the power spike of leveling that way, but if the trait is important, that's the way to not lose it. You also get the chance for a much better Chosen, since you can now get 4-star ones at level 7. The final part of Chosen gameplay comes in the late game. If your Chosen is not too impactful, you have the choice of going to level 9 and fishing for legendary Chosens, which are almost always impactful. This is only a choice for games where you do well, because otherwise staying at 8 is a sensible and correct move. Searching for 5 cost Chosens is always a move you make when you need to go the extra mile in the late game in order to get that first. You do the same thing we did for level 7, you go to 9, sell your Chosen, and replace them with 2 units of the same trait. As this is late game, you probably want to keep that trait going, so be prepared. There are specific Chosen breakpoints in the game, governed by the following graph. Again, feel free to pause the video to check it out. The chances of getting specific Chosen are really important to know, especially when you are hunting for that Moonlight Aphelios or Mage Veigar. It's also important in your game plan, since you need to know that searching for a Chosen at level 6 is usually a bad idea if you want a 4-cost one. The breakpoints for Chosens are level 5, where 3 costs become available, level 7, where 4 costs become available, and level 9, where 5 costs become available. These chances could change throughout the set, so make sure to watch our patch rundowns and get informed if they do. Seeing this table, you understand that you usually want to get to level 5 as soon as possible to unlock the 3-cost Chosen, as slim as the chance is to get a good one. Even if you don't want to, others will, and usually will destroy you if you don't have a Chosen and wait for the perfect one for too long. This is why leveling aggressively has become fairly attractive to players, same as rolling excessively to find the perfect Chosen. You should get to level 6 between 3-2 and 3-6, and level 7 soon after at 4-1 or 4-3. Even earlier would be even better, but it's too rare. Unlike set 3, you usually roll down down a bit at level 7 instead of 8 now, for a chance at a 4-cost Chosen, as well as the 2-star units and stabilize if you are in a losing streak. Level 8 is a must for most comps, so you should not go to 0 gold at this point either. Getting to 8 at 5-1 is pretty decent, and if you can do it earlier, even better. Going to 9 is fine to add a trait and unit in, but if you look to sell your Chosen and find a legendary one, you should have some gold at hand to buy them. It would suck to find a stabilizing Chosen set and have 14 gold. Level 9 is there to give you another scaling option for comps like Wukong that struggle in the late game. Make sure you use it wisely, Chosen or not. As always, feedback is appreciated, so hit us in the comments. If you liked the video, hit the like and subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next one. Now get out there and farm some LP using what you learned today.